I'm Sherilyn Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. Hello, my friends. Today we are celebrating the 200th episode of the Brilliant Balance podcast, and I'm doing listener questions answered to mark the occasion. I mean, today is a celebration. This is a milestone in the history of the show. 200 episodes is something I didn't know if we would see when I sat down for the first time behind this microphone to record episode 1 of the show. And when I look back on these episodes, which we considered doing as a way to honor this milestone, I thought maybe I would do highlights or some of my favorites or some of your favorites, the ones that have, gotten a ton of comments and emails and DMs and social media over the years. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought that this feels like a perfect opportunity to open the doors for you to ask your questions and actually get some coaching, get some questions answered through the show. I get to do that all the time with the women who are in our coaching programs as clients. And I love doing it. It's one of my favorite things. But for those of you who are in our extended family as listeners of the show, I think this is a really good opportunity to kind of open the doors. And so if you've been listening for a while, you may know that we kind of sent out the all call for questions. We gave you a phone number to call and leave a voicemail with your question. And it has been so fun listening to your voices on these voicemails. So I've been listening to your questions and kind of crafting them into an episode for today. So if you did not get to submit one this time and you think, I missed my chance, I think we'll do it again at some point in the future because it was so fun to listen to the questions that are on your mind. There were a few themes that emerged. Not surprisingly, these are the kinds of things that are on all of our minds, right? Anyone who would say, yes, I want to live in a state of brilliant balance. I want to take care of myself. I want to take care of my family or my people. I want to do great work in the world. There are some themes of things that we are fairly consistently trying to solve for. And not surprisingly, those came out in the questions that you asked in the voicemails for this episode. So the way I'm going to structure this today is I am going to play for you the questions straight off of the recording. And then you'll hear me again and I'll answer sort of what we heard the caller ask in her question. So again, for those of you who were brave and took the time to dial that number and ask your question, it means the world to me. And I hope I serve you well. We're going to have a bit of a one-sided dialogue here. So I hope I get in the right space for your answer. Again, when we're in coaching and I can have two-way dialogues, it's so awesome. But this is going to be a great shot to get to a broader audience of women with some of these themes. So here we go. Without further ado, these are your questions answered. Okay, so first up, I'm going to share our only anonymous question. And this one is around the theme of finding time for yourself. Here it is.
Hi, I have a question. I'm tired all the time and exhausted, and I feel like that I'm not really getting much out of my life because I'm not having no time for myself. I'm balancing most of it with working, doing the home, house work, doing the bills, and doing the other errands, and I just don't feel like I have any time for myself or nothing else, and because I'm exhausted and tired all the time. And I just wonder what I could do to kind of make my life a little bit balanced, more easier with that stuff, and have some free time to go do something for myself to have a little bit of enjoyment, pleasure, and peace. If I could have an answer on that one, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. I love this question. So when I think about what we're really asking here. What I'm really hearing her say is, all I do is work. And I'm defining work in both realms, right? There's paid work, but then there's also the work we do to keep our households running and our cars running and to take care of ourselves and do errands. All of that really constitutes work. And what this person is asking is, if work-life balance is actually the balance between the stuff I have to do and the stuff I want to do or I get to do, how can I tip the scale further toward having time for things that I really want to do, right? Time for myself where I can invest in myself, I can get rejuvenated, I can get restored. That's what I'm really kind of looking to do here. And it's hard because so much of my time is going to this work that I have to do, right? So what are some tips? What are some things that I can do to start to shift the scales a little bit back in my favor? And my answer to this question is to start small, but be consistent. So with any of us, if we look at the scale and we say it's 100% work and 0% recovery, right? And maybe I'm exaggerating a smidge here. But if we're at 100% work, 0% recovery, what does it look like to get just 1% recovery or 1%, me time, to use her language? Or maybe you could even say 5%, right? What does it look like to just tip the scale a little bit from that 100% in the camp of work? And that's really about just a small but predictable sliver of time that you have complete discretion over how you will use it, okay? A small, and here's the key word, but predictable sliver of time. Maybe it's 15 minutes and that's all that you can carve out to do for yourself, but you get to choose. And it's the act of choosing that's just delicious, right? Maybe once you get to 15, you can start to think about, actually, maybe I can nudge that to 30. Maybe I could even nudge it up to 45 or 60. But if you start small and you prove to yourself that you can do it with consistency, that's typically the very best starting point. And so when you're really, really tapped, like, man, I am full out exerting all the time, sometimes you can only see your way to that smallest sliver. So the key is not the amount of time. The key is that it is protected and that you are very consistent about doing it. Most of us could say, like, all right, I probably can come up with 15 minutes. And that 15 minutes gives you the starting point that you can build upon to have it be a broader and broader platform. Okay? All right, let's do the next question. This one is going to be from Marissa. Here we go.
Hi, Cheryl Ann. My name is Marissa. I'm a longtime listener, but a first-time caller. And I was wondering if you had any tips for trying to make the most of those evenings at home with the family, balancing work and play, especially in these summer months. You want to get home, you want to kind of shut off from the day at work and be recharged enough to really be engaged with the family. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on how to go about doing that, kind of how to make the most of that time frame that's like right before dinner, before bedtime with the kids. So thank you for potentially taking my question.
Okay. So what I hear inherent in Marissa's question is something a little bit different. What I hear in her question is, how do I make the most of my evenings, right? Specifically, this time that I have at home with my kids. How do I really make those magical? And I bet that if, as you're listening to this, you're thinking, me too, right? I'm so tired by the time I finish my workday, but I really want to make that time with my family kind of magical in the evening because I'm aware that I have limited time in that zone of the day. So the kind of thing I would have you think about here, Marissa, is what I call a threshold ritual. So this is asking yourself, what can I do that's pretty tangible as I change zones in my day? So what you're describing in your question is, I've been in a work zone, right? All of my energy and attention is sort of being directed toward my work. And I'm either driving home or I'm coming down from my bedroom office, and it's now time for me to be a mom or for me to be a wife. how do I want to show up in that zone of the day? And what really we're doing is we're crossing a threshold, sometimes a literal threshold, like we park the car in the garage and come in the door. Sometimes it's a metaphorical threshold. But a threshold ritual is something that you can use to help you change gears, to kind of pause and ask yourself, how do I want to show up in this zone of my day? And you can do very small but tangible things to sort of remind yourself that you're crossing into a new zone. Something as simple as I'm going to change my clothes into, quote unquote, play clothes, like as an adult. It's probably the yoga pants uniform, right? And I'm going to put my hair up on top of my head and maybe take my makeup off. And that signals, all right, I've transitioned into playtime or this mom zone. Maybe it's a particular song that you play when it's time to wrap up one piece of the day and move into the next. Maybe you pause for a few minutes of prayer or meditation. Any of those types of rituals can be valuable in just reminding yourself that you're entering a new zone. And then the key question is, how do I want to show up, right? What's my intention for this next chapter of the day? And I find that exercising a threshold ritual like that and just inviting myself to sort of shift gears very intentionally is a powerful way to make the most of that time, because it's our intention that drives our behavior, right? So if we haven't set the intention, we come in, we're trailing all the drama of the day and the unresolved problems and the issues that we're still trying to think about, and we're cranky about that meeting that didn't go the way we wanted. And that's the energy that we're bringing to our kids. We're kind of still in work mode. Or, we've slipped into this day kind of aimlessly, right? We kind of stumble into this new zone, and now we're just in sort of productivity mode, right? We're cleaning up the kitchen and going through the mail and tidying things, but we're not really being fully present with the people that we love. So that threshold ritual is what allows us to anchor into intention that shapes our behavior. Okay, let's get into the next question. And this one is from Rachel.
Hi, Cheryl Ann. My name is Rachel. I'm a stay-at-home mom of two sweet, beautiful little baby boys. One is 4, one is 2, and although I love them with all my heart and soul, they do suck the life out of me. So I'm just wondering, do you have any tips on how to feel more energized? How to fit exercise into your routine when there's a child constantly clinging to you? I guess that's a form of exercise, but I'd like to do something more. And I just want to be the best mom I can be for them and be energized and fun and, not a sorry sap like I am right now. Thank you, and have a good one.
Oh boy, Rachel, I think a lot of us can probably agree with your statement, or your statement resonates with us about these little amazing people sucking the life out of us, right? I loved your phrase there. So your question is really about, how do I make time specifically for exercise, even when I have kids who are clinging to me all the time and are super needy, right? Because they're tiring, especially at those ages. And exercise can sometimes feel like the very last thing that we have energy for. And yet, I'll tell you this, and I smiled when I listened to your question. It's one of the reasons I picked it, is because so many of the women who I get to talk to about coaching when they're thinking about doing a coaching program with Brilliant Balance say, one of the things I really want to make time for is exercise. I know I feel better when I move my body consistently, and I'm just not doing it. So I really want to make sure we help with this particular goal. Do you ever find yourself saying, I just need a minute to breathe? While the whole idea of meditation can sound totally intimidating, I've found that stepping away from the chaos of life, even just for a few minutes, is incredibly restorative. So if you're short on time, but could use a few moments of peace right about now, listen to my 5-minute meditation for working moms. It'll help you clear your head and come back to your day feeling centered and refreshed. Head over to brilliant-balance.com/breathe. Press play and settle in for a few mini moments of peace right now. All right, so I will tell you that for virtually all moms, exercising first thing in the morning is the recipe for success. There are exceptions, right? If you are truly not a morning person, like you're just not wired to have high energy in the morning, then sometimes we can kind of bend or break this rule. But I will tell you, for almost all of the moms that I've coached over the last decade plus, exercising first thing in the morning is a formula that allows it to be more consistent. And the reason is really pretty simple. It's that the day hasn't gotten away from you yet, and you haven't drained or poured your energy into other things. So if you can build the habit of saying, I am going to start my day with movement. One, you start your day with a win, right? And that's just a great feeling. Two, nothing can really have gone wrong yet, right? Nothing can really have gotten in your way when you're going to do it first thing in the morning. Three, you often have, if you have a partner, someone at home who can manage that, let's say 30 minutes before they leave for work or before they get engaged in other activities. So there's a lot of kind of power happening at that first thing in the morning period of time. I've exercised first thing in the morning for decades now. I've tried many other ways, but it is with consistency the thing that works the best. So also, if you think about time of day, the other thing to think about is what are you doing? And I really like the formula of what can you do at home or very close to home. So there's no barriers, right? You're not like, oh, the class is at this particular time, or I have to get up and drive to this location and park and walk in. And, there's all this gymnastics around that. If you can do it at home or very close to home, like walking by leaving your front door or running by walking out the front door, that is also a big piece of the formula for success. And then don't make it torture, right? If you want to have the energy to do it, the activity that you choose needs to be something that you look forward to doing. So if you hate running because you feel drained by it, then you walk, right? If you hate doing HIIT workouts because they make your knees hurt, then you do yoga. But something that allows you to move with as little equipment as possible, in the location as close to home as possible, is kind of this. We're trying to take all the barriers that make it harder away so it's easier to do. And you'll notice I instinctively said 30 minutes. I mean, you might do 10 to get started. You might do 10 or 15. And if you have a practice of doing 30 and you want to make it longer, great. But I think a 30-minute workout is kind of a good goal state as many times a week as you can fit in. If you can do that 6 or 7 days a week, fantastic, right? That doesn't mean you have to be, bloody and sweaty on the side of the road, so to speak. It's something that allows you to feel like that movement is energizing and not draining. So, inherent in your question, Rachel, was how do I stay energized for exercise, even when I have really demanding parenting responsibilities? And my formula here is do it first thing in the morning when you've got some support. Don't make it torture, right? Pick something that actually feels energizing to you, and then simplify the routine. Keep it as close to home and as simple as possible so that there are very few excuses or reasons to say it's not going to work today. I hope that helps. All right, next question. This one is from Tabitha.
Hi there. My name is Tabitha. Congratulations on episode 200 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. My question for Cheryl Ann is, how can I best utilize my me time? I get up at 5 a.m. and listen to my audiobooks and do my Bible study, and I work full time. And by the time my job is over and I come home, I just feel exhausted. Any tips on managing my me time before, or should I utilize it after work? Thanks again.
Okay, so this is where we're getting into this nuance of, should my me time be before or after work? Like, is there an optimized time when I should be protecting some time for myself? And my answer here is it really depends on your objective, right? What is your intention? Do you need to get in the right headspace for your day? Like, is that your primary objective? Then maybe you want to do this in the morning. If your objective for having some time alone is, I want to wind down, I want to kind of release the stress that I've built up during the day, then you may need to do that in the evening, right? So your intention, or like what you want to use the time for, may lend itself to one time slot or another. Otherwise, it really doesn't matter at all. Maybe even try to get some of each, but I will tell you, in my experience and with the women who I coach, there is a different energy before and after work, right? The before is sort of this on-ramp to the day. Like, we're setting an intention. We're trying to get in a gear or protect a certain mindset pattern or get an early win. And that evening is more about releasing, unwinding, letting go of, cleansing from things that may have built up during the day. And so they each can really serve different roles, but it's like when people say, is there a certain time of day I should exercise? Like, not really in terms of the effectiveness. It's more like, what's your purpose? What's your intention for that session? So that I would be thinking a little bit more about, what do you want out of that time? And then if it doesn't matter to you at all, then you could think about just what fits best with the schedule of your family and where that pocket is the easiest to kind of get your arms around. All right, next question. Do you love these as much as I do? These are so fun to hear, these real questions. The next one is from Joyce.
Hi, my name is Joyce, and I'm a proud mom of 2 kids, ages 5 and 8, with 2 part-time jobs, and I have a full life that I love. But it can sometimes get a bit overwhelming, if I'm honest. I've heard you talk about a cadence of life, and I was wondering if you could expound on that idea. Could you give some examples of what a day in the life of Cheryl Ann's cadence might look like, maybe throughout a day, or even if there is one within a week or a year? Or maybe can you give me a framework of how I could best build a good cadence for me and my family?
Okay, so Joyce has heard me talk about this word cadence. And I think I probably landed on this word because for many years, running was my chosen form of exercise. And when you are a runner, you learn very quickly that cadence is everything. That you want to find a speed that you can sustain. Because if you start too fast, you kind of burn all of your energy too early in the race and you really struggle at the end. And I have found that to be a very apt metaphor for life, that if we don't find a cadence we can sustain between exertion and recovery, then we burn out pretty quickly and we can really crash. We can get pretty sick if we're not careful. So finding a cadence that you can sustain is really a test and learn exercise. The goal here is to try some things, to proactively build in breathing room to your day. If you are someone who has always just woken up in the morning and hit the ground running and you stay at that pace all the way until your head hits the pillow, and then you do it again the next day and again the next day and again the next day, you're basically in a dead sprint 100% of the time. And a lot of us trained ourselves to do that, and we take great pride in our ability to do that. What I'm going to challenge you to do as you're playing with this idea of cadence is to build some recovery into every day, or at least build some recovery into every week, right? And by recovery or breathing room, I mean unscheduled time that does not have a planned outcome. Right? There's nothing intentionally productive about that block of time. And what you're testing is, do I get more out of my productive time when I have some intentionally unproductive time? Am I able to get a better outcome, to be more focused, to have more success with my sprints when I have some recovery? And the best way to assess this is to do something like a simple week in review. This is where, you reach the end of the week and you pour a cup of coffee and get out your kind of plan from the week and say, how did that go, right? Were there days where I was falling asleep at 7 p.m., just, exhausted and raw? Or was I able to have like a pleasant evening? How was my mood? Was I cranky with my family or my colleagues or, people in traffic? Or was I able to maintain a good level of control over my emotions? Those are all signals of, are we in a cadence that we can sustain, right? Life was just never designed to be a sprint. And too many of us, I find, are sprinting because we think that's become the expectation. We think that's what the world is asking of us. And learning to establish a cadence that you personally can sustain is so critical to really your overall fulfillment and satisfaction in life. And I'll just say this, the cadence is different for each of us, okay? So if I tell you exactly what I do, that is unique to my energy level, my family demands, the particular, career that I've chosen. And that may not work for you, but the principles of saying, can I leave some unstructured time in my day for recovery, where I get to fill it with things that fill me up? And can I learn that I'm actually a better human when I do that? And my family is better served, and my company and our clients are better served. That's what you're kind of poking at here in the question, Joyce, and I just love it. So good luck to you as you try to establish this, and to all of you who might choose to run your own experiment. These test and learns are very, very important, and I want you to try one of your own. Okay, this is going to be the last question, and this one is a little bit of a twist, and it's from Tracy.
Hi, my name's Tracy. I'm an almost 40-year-old professional with a pretty good job, but I have some questions because I'm feeling a little bit frustrated by my perceived financial limitations. I left a long-term relationship a couple years ago with pretty much nothing financially. A little bit of money and the debt that I had from before, which canceled each other out. I'm kind of starting again. And I have a new partner who lives through a similar story. Left an ex and left more or less all of our financial goods with that ex. Well, would like to look forward to buying some property, but I feel like there are just so many barriers in our way. How can I kind of focus on getting towards that goal instead of just seeing all the limitations that I have in front of me? I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, Tracy, I love this one. And what I really hear in your question is, how do I focus on possibilities and not my current circumstances? So your question came through the lens of finances, right? I'm in this financial do-over and I have goals for myself, but sometimes all I see are the limitations. And finances are a place where this shows up a lot, but anyone listening might be able to find themselves in this story. Maybe it's finances, maybe it's some other aspect of life. But what's inherent in your question, and it's so important, is how do I stay focused on possibilities and not my current circumstances? Because here's the thing, what's done is done, right? Your current self, your current financial situation doesn't allow you to have all the things that you're dreaming of. But your future self knows that that's what she's steering toward. Your future self is like beckoning you in that direction. So your job, Tracy, and all of our jobs is to think about what would have to be true to get me from here to there. If in my current circumstances, like Tracy, if in your case, if you don't have the money to do something today that you really want to do, the question is, what would have to be true for me to have those financial resources a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What habits would I need to be committed to today? What decisions do I need to be making today that are moving me in that direction, right? What thoughts do I need to be thinking and reminding myself of? What kind of people do I need to surround myself with so that I am every day moving myself in the direction of that possible future that I'm dreaming of? For any of us who want to execute any kind of change, and that's why I loved this question, I want to end with it today. Anytime we are trying to steer our lives up and to the right, we're trying to improve any aspect of our life, we want to stay focused on what's possible, right? That forward future orientation where we're grounded in positivity. And we are asking ourselves, what would have to be true? What decisions can I make now that are going to push me in alignment with this future goal, future dream that I have set for myself? There is so much power in dwelling in possibility every day. When we get really focused on our current circumstances or our current limitations, we live in a very tight box, right? And sometimes, very often, in fact, our current circumstances would not produce the future state that we want for ourselves. So it's about these micro changes, these micro evolutions from day to day that are always grounded in decisions. What's the decision I can make now, today, this minute, this hour that moves me just a little bit closer to that future possibility that I want? And if you're looking at it through the lens of finances, it might be things like, do I buy this item today? Or do I use that money to pay down my debt or to save or to invest, right? It might be, what do I need to learn? What skills do I need to build that I don't understand that could allow me to accumulate wealth faster or build my financial security faster? So that focus on the short term is only in what decisions, what actions, what habits do I need to be building or using today such that I'm moving myself in the trajectory of that future state that I really want, right? I want to be trending in that direction over time. There is so much power in that for all of us, right? As we stand here at the 200th episode of this show, and I think about what do I hope to continue to inspire you to do, continue to think about, it really is to dwell in possibility. That the life that you want, a life where you feel positively brilliant, and that you have the sense of balance between the things you have to do and the things you want to do that is right for you. That's so rooted in the choices that you make right here, right now. You know, are they steering you in the direction of the life of your dreams? And I hope that I can continue to inspire you to make those choices and dream those dreams. Happy 200th episode to us. It would mean the world to me if you would celebrate this milestone by taking just a second to rate the show or leave a review. It really does help other women find this podcast. Also, make sure you're following along on Instagram, especially we're at brilliant_balance. And on Facebook, the group is called Brilliant Balance. Those are great places to build into this community. Let us know who you are and let us be of a support to you. That's all for today, my friends. Till next time, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.